You are 17 years old, and you are sitting in AP Computer Science in a suburb of Seattle, and the teacher is explaining something you already know. Not approximately know. No. You solve the problem set before class during lunch on the back of a history quiz. You sit in the third row, and the clock on the wall moves the way clocks move when the room has nothing to teach you, which is very slowly, and the specific frustration building in your chest is not arrogance. It is the frustration of a person who can see the exit clearly and cannot yet use it. After class, you go to the library and you work on a different problem. Not a homework problem. A real one. How a small website could predict which news articles a person would share before the person knew they would share them. You have been working on this for 4 months. You have a working prototype on a $40 Raspberry Pi you keep in your backpack. The model is not good yet. It will be. Your mother is an accountant. Your father teaches middle school math. They are the kind of parents who put a whiteboard in the kitchen for the children to use and who believe, with a sincerity that is both admirable and slightly terrifying, that education is the mechanism by which the world becomes fair. They have been saving for your college fund since you were 3. The college fund has $62,000 in it. They show it to you sometimes with the quiet pride of people who built something brick by brick. You get into MIT, you go, you last 14 months. This is your life at every level of building something the education system did not predict and could not contain. From the dorm room at 2 in the morning to the board meeting where the number on the slide has 11 digits. Every hire, every pivot, every version of yourself that had to be retired to build the next one. Level 1, the dorm room. MIT is not the problem. MIT is extraordinary. The density of intelligence in a single building at 2 in the morning is something you will spend years trying to recreate in office design. The problem is the structure. The problem is that the thing you need to build cannot be built in semesters. It does not fit in a syllabus. It requires a kind of continuous, uninterrupted, obsessive attention that a course load makes impossible. You meet 2 people. The first is a graduate student named Priya, who is doing her PhD in machine learning and who looks at your prototype and says nothing for 4 minutes and then says, "The feature weighting is wrong, but the architecture is interesting." This is the best feedback you have ever received. You spend the next 6 weeks fixing the feature weighting. The second person is your roommate, a kid from suburban Ohio named Marcus, who is studying electrical engineering and who has the rare quality of being able to build anything you describe in under a week. You describe the hardware layer the prototype needs. He builds it in 5 days. You apply for a Thiel Fellowship, $100,000 over 2 years to drop out and build a company. You are rejected. This is the most useful thing that happens to you at MIT. The rejection forces you to articulate in writing what the company actually is, not what it could be, not what it might become, but what it is specifically, right now, in 1 sentence. The sentence takes 11 drafts. By draft 11, you have a company. You drop out anyway. You tell your parents on a Sunday. Your father does not speak for a long time. Your mother asks if you have thought this through. You show them the sentence. You show them the prototype. Your father says, "If you're wrong, you can come back." He means come back to school. He also means come back home. Both of these are true, and neither of them is the point. Level 2, the seed. You move to San Francisco with Marcus and $14,000 in personal savings, money from 3 summers of freelance web work, and the cash gifts from 4 years of birthdays and Christmases that you never spent because you never wanted anything that $50 could buy. You rent a 2-bedroom in the Sunset District, $3,200 a month split 2 ways. The second bedroom is the office. The company is called Vantage. It predicts content virality. Specifically, given a piece of text and a target demographic, it returns a probability score and a ranked list of modifications that would increase sharing likelihood. The model works. The question is who pays for it and why and how much. You apply to Y Combinator. You get in. 3 months, $125,000 for 7% of the company. You move to Mountain View. You eat in the YC cafeteria. You do office hours with partners who have seen 3,000 companies and who ask questions that feel simple and are not. A partner named Dan asks you, "Who is the customer who cannot live without this?" You do not have a good answer. You spend 2 weeks finding one. The answer is digital media companies running A/B tests on headlines. They already know that headline variation matters. Your model makes the variation systematic instead of intuitive. A publisher in New York runs a pilot. Their click-through rate improves 23%. They sign a contract, $4,000 per month. Your first dollar. Not a dollar, $4,000. The first month it arrives, you screenshot the bank notification and send it to your parents with no comment. Your mother sends back a single exclamation mark. Demo day. You raise $1.8 million in seed funding from 4 angels and a small fund. The lead investor is a woman named Claire who ran editorial at 2 major publications and who understands your customer better than you do. She takes a board seat. She is the most useful board member you will ever have. Level 3. The product market fit. 14 months of building, measuring, rebuilding. You hire 6 people. Engineers mostly. 1 designer, 1 person who does sales because you are not good at sales in the way that engineers are often not good at sales, which is to say you know the product completely and cannot understand why the conversation needs to be about anything other than the product. The salesperson is a woman named Jordan. She is 26, she has worked at 2 SaaS companies, and she has the quality of being able to make any person in any room feel that the thing she is selling was built specifically for their problem. She is not lying. The product was built for their problem. She just knows how to say it in the order that makes the customer understand it fastest. Jordan closes $280,000 in ARR in her first 4 months. You find the thing that everyone in the company is chasing without knowing they are chasing it. The moment a customer's workflow changes because of your product. Not the moment they sign the contract. The moment their editor stops guessing about headlines. The moment the A/B test becomes a formality because the model already told them the answer. That moment is product market fit, and it does not announce itself. You know it has arrived when customers start asking for features before you have thought of them. ARR at the end of year 2, $2.1 million. Monthly burn, $180,000. Runway, 14 months. You need to raise a Series A. You have not slept more than 5 consecutive hours in 8 months. This is not sustainable, and you know it, and you do not change it, because the alternative, sleeping while the product has unsolved problems, is something your brain refuses to accept as a legitimate option. Marcus has the same problem. You are both 21 and running on a combination of ambient caffeine, genuine belief, and the specific energy of people who have decided that what they are building matters enough to pay for with the hours that other people spend on everything else. Level 4, the Series A, $11 million. Series A. Led by a Sandhill Road firm whose name you have known since you were 16 and whose logo on a term sheet produces a feeling you immediately suppress. Because feeling things about logos is not a useful habit for a CEO. Which is what your business card now says, a fact that still seems slightly implausible at 22. You use the money to hire 20 people in 6 months. This is too many people in too little time, and you know this, and you do it anyway. Because the market is moving, and the competitor you have been tracking, a well-funded team in New York with a worse model but a better sales operation, is closing enterprise deals that should be yours. 3 of the 20 hires do not work out. 2 are let go at the 6-month mark. 1 leaves on his own after 8 weeks with no explanation in an email that has the specific blankness of someone who decided to save both parties the conversation. You sit in the conference room after each departure and feel something that is not guilt but is adjacent to guilt. The understanding that you made a decision about a person and the decision was wrong and the person's life is briefly worse because of your error in judgment. Claire tells you, hiring mistakes are the tuition of scale. You write this down. It does not make the feeling go away. The competitor raises $40 million in a Series B. Your competitor's model improves. Your competitor's sales team calls your customers. You lose too. The loss is not financial. $8,000 a month combined. The loss is informational. It tells you something about where the market is going that the data had not yet surfaced. You pivot the product to focus on enterprise social media teams instead of editorial. The pivot takes 4 months and requires rebuilding 2 core features and retraining the model on a different corpus. The pivot is correct. You will know this in 18 months. Level 5, the scale, 41 employees. AR, $14 million. You have a head of engineering who is better at running engineering teams than you are. You have a VP of sales who replaced Jordan. Jordan left to start her own company, which you funded at $150,000 because it was the right thing to do, and because Jordan is the kind of person whose success will eventually create value you cannot yet see. You have an office in Soma, 8,000 square feet, exposed brick, a coffee setup that cost $12,000 that you approved without hesitation because the ROI on caffeinated engineers is not difficult to calculate. You are 25 and you are no longer writing code. This is the loss nobody prepares you for. The thing that started everything, the Raspberry Pi in the backpack, the 4 months of prototype work before class, the feature waiting that Priya identified, that thing is now managed by people who are better at managing it than you are, and your job is to manage the people who manage the thing, and you are learning to be good at this, but you are not yet good at it, and the learning costs time and money and the occasional talented employee who leaves because the management is not yet what it should be. Marcus is CTO. He is extraordinary at it. He is also your oldest friend, and the company is testing the friendship in ways that nobody's college roommate relationship is designed for. You have a disagreement about the infrastructure migration that becomes briefly about something other than infrastructure. You have a conversation about the conversation. You keep working together. This costs more than the migration. Series B, $42 million. Your stake, 31% of a company that the lead investors model values at $140 million post-money. On paper, $43 million. Paper. Level 6. The hard year. The economy contracts. Enterprise software budgets are cut. 4 customers pause contracts. 3 do not renew. ARR growth decelerates from 80% annually to 22%. The board wants to see a path to profitability. The path requires cutting. You lay off 11 people on a Tuesday in February. You do it yourself, not through HR, not through managers. You call each person individually. 11 calls, some are short, some are not. A woman named Sarah, who joined 18 months ago and relocated from Denver and who is excellent, asks you on the call if she did something wrong. You tell her no, which is true, and that does not make the call easier. You go home that night and you sit in your apartment, a 1-bedroom in the Mission that you have been meaning to upgrade for 2 years and have not because upgrading felt like a thing that could wait. And you try to locate what you are feeling. The feeling is not guilt exactly. It is the weight of the consequence of a decision made in a boardroom applied to a person who packed up a life in Denver and moved to San Francisco because you needed her. The abstraction became specific. You let it be specific. Then you go to sleep, and in the morning, the company needs you to be something else. You cut burn by 40%. You push hard on the 3 enterprise verticals where retention is strongest. You hire nobody for 8 months. ARR stabilizes at $18 million. The board backs off. You raise a flat round, $28 million at the same valuation as the Series B, from existing investors who believe in the long-term direction and are not excited about the terms and say so. The flat round is the moment you understand what company building actually is, not the seed round with the upward arrow, not the Series A with the term sheet from the firm with the familiar logo. The flat round in a down market from investors who are disappointed in the trajectory and are staying anyway. That is the real thing. Everything before it was a movie about the real thing. Level 7, the exit. The pivot worked. 3 years after the hard year, the enterprise social media market is exactly where you positioned Vantage to be. ARR, $61 million. Net revenue retention, 118%. Customers expanding faster than they churn. The model, now in its 4th major architecture, is the best in the category by every benchmark that matters. You receive 3 acquisition offers in the same quarter. The largest is from a public technology company whose products are used by every major media organization in the world. They want the model, the team, and the customer relationships. The offer? $680 million. Patricia, you hired her from a firm in San Francisco 2 years ago, the best decision you made in year 6, negotiates for 9 weeks. The final number? $740 million. Your stake? 28% after dilution across all rounds. Pre-tax proceeds? $207 million. You call Marcus. He is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "We should have fixed the feature weighting earlier." You laugh. He is referring to the prototype. The Raspberry Pi? Priya's feedback in the MIT hallway 7 years ago. You both know that fixing the feature weighting earlier would not have changed anything about this phone call, but it is his way of saying something that neither of you has the vocabulary for in this moment, which is, we did it, and it was real, and we were there for all of it together. You call your parents. Your father picks up. You tell him the number. He is quiet. Then he says, "Come home sometime." He does not mean come home because of the money. He means come home because you have not been in 8 months and the whiteboard in the kitchen has a calculus problem on it that nobody has solved. Level 8, the morning after. You are 2 years into the acquisition. The model runs inside the acquiring company's platform now, serving 400 million users. Your team is intact. The acquiring company honored the retention packages and most people stayed. Marcus is VP of AI. You are Chief Strategy Officer, which means your calendar is full of meetings and your weekends are your own for the first time since you were 17. You wake up at 6. The body does not know what to do with the lack of urgency. You make coffee. You sit at the kitchen table, a real table, in a real house, in the Noe Valley neighborhood of San Francisco, purchased 18 months ago with the specific pleasure of a person who has rented for a decade and can now stop. The house is not large. It is exactly the size of a place where one person can think. On the kitchen table, there is a notebook. In it, since last month, there is a new problem. Not a work problem. The acquirer has plenty of people for work problems. A real one. how a predictive model could identify which students in underfunded school districts are at risk of disengaging before the disengagement is visible to teachers. You have been thinking about it since a conversation with a woman at a dinner who runs an education nonprofit in Oakland and who described the problem in a way that sounded, structurally, like the headline virality problem in 2009. The feature weighting will be different. The architecture will need rethinking. The customer is a school district, which means the procurement cycle is 18 months and the budget is constrained, and the success metric is not ARR, but a child who stayed in school who might not have. The unit economics do not work the same way. You are going to have to figure out how they work. You open the notebook to the problem, the coffee is hot, the house is quiet. Outside, San Francisco is doing what it does in the early morning. Fog burning off the hills, the city assembling itself from the ground up. Your father's whiteboard problem is still unsolved. You called him last week, and he read it to you over the phone, and it is a good problem. You will drive to Seattle next month. You will stand at the whiteboard in the kitchen with the accountant and the math teacher and the college fund that built you, and you will solve the problem together, and it will be worth more than 11 digits. The notebook is open. You pick up the pen.